Long before the city roads reached the old villages, there was a quiet place called Odoan, a village wrapped in red earth, thick forest, and secrets too old to be spoken loudly. In Odoan, everyone knew everyone. Every child belonged to every mother. Every elder carried a story. Every path had a warning attached to it. But no day was more alive than market day. Every 4 days, the village became a river of people. Women arrived balancing baskets of tomatoes, pepper, smoked fish, and yams on their heads. Men dragged goats through the dust while arguing over prices. Children ran barefoot between stalls, stealing roasted groundnuts and laughing like the world had never known fear. The market was loud, warm, colorful. But for almost 7 years, there was one thing about market day that always made the older women lower their voices. Just when the sun climbed high enough to make even the strongest trader wipe sweat from their neck, she would appear. No one ever saw her enter through the village road. No one ever saw her step out from the bush path. One moment, there would be empty space between the pepper stall and the beet seller. The next moment, she was simply there. She moved like someone who belonged everywhere and nowhere at the same time. Her wrappers were always spotless. Her coral beads looked old, expensive, and strangely royal. Her perfume smelled like wet leaves, cold rain, and flowers no one in Odoan had ever seen. She never shouted. She never laughed loudly. She never argued over price. And every market day, she bought the exact same 3 things. A small lump of black soap, a calabash of honey, and 1 strand of white thread. Then before sunset, she vanished again. The younger people admired her beauty. The men whispered about her grace. Some girls even copied the way she tied her wrapper. But the old women, the ones whose eyes had seen too many things, they never looked at her for long. They called her only one name: Ejoju, the woman who borrows faces. In that same village lived a young tailor named Tunde. Tunde was the kind of young man hardship had made older than his age. His father died when he was still a boy, leaving behind only an old foot pedal sewing machine that groaned like a tired old man each time he used it. His mother followed years later after a fever the herbs could not cure. Since then, Tunde had only one family left in the whole world: his younger sister, Bisi. Bisi was everything Tunde was not. If Tunde was cautious, Bisi was fearless. If Tunde spoke little, Bisi spoke like she was trying to outrun silence. She was 16, lively, beautiful, stubborn, and far too curious for a village that had survived by teaching its children not to ask too many questions. She sold handmade bead bracelets at the market and dreamed of one day leaving Odoan for the city. "I won't stay here forever," she would say in the evenings as she sat outside their mud house threading beads under lantern light. "One day I'll go to Lagos. I'll wear fine clothes. I'll see tall buildings. I'll make people remember my name." Tunde would always smile. "This village may be small," he'd say, "but at least it won't swallow you whole." Bisi would laugh. "And how do you know Lagos is the dangerous place? Maybe the real danger is hiding right here in this village." At the time, Tunde thought she was joking. He would later remember those words and wish she had not spoken them. One market day, while Tunde sat outside his small tailoring stall sewing the torn sleeve of a farmer's border, Bisi suddenly grabbed his arm. "Brother," she whispered. "She's here." Tunde didn't need to ask who she meant. He looked up. The market woman had appeared again. This time she wore a deep green wrapper with gold embroidery that shimmered when she moved. Her face was stunning. High cheekbones, smooth dark skin, full lips, sharp, graceful eyes. Men paused mid-conversation to watch her pass. Women glanced twice even when they pretended not to. "She's beautiful," Bisi whispered. "Don't stare," Tunde said immediately. Bisi frowned. "Why?" Because Mama Sod says people who stare at her too long begin having dreams. Bisi rolled her eyes. Mama Sod also says the forest listens when you insult it. Maybe it does. Brother, you believe too many old stories. And you don't believe enough of them. Bisi smacked, then kept watching the woman anyway. The woman stopped at the honey store. She lifted the calabash. Smiled softly at the seller. Paid without bargaining. Then, as if she had heard the conversation from across the market, she turned. Slowly. Directly toward Bisi. And in that single moment, the noise of the market seemed to fade. The drums in the distance felt far away. The voices around them thinned. Even the wind seemed to stop. The woman smiled at Bisi. Not warmly. Not kindly. But like someone who had just recognized something she had been looking for. Bisi's smile disappeared. Brother, she said quietly. What? Why does it feel like she knows me? A few weeks later, the first girl disappeared. Her name was Rimalikan, the potter's daughter. She was 17, known for her bright laugh and the little scar near her eyebrow from when she fell from a mango tree as a child. She left home at dusk to fetch water from the stream. She never came back. By midnight, the entire village was searching. Men walked with lanterns through the bush paths. Women called her name until their voices broke. Dogs barked at shadows. Children were dragged indoors and told not to look through the windows. They found her clay pot by the stream. But they did not find Rimalikan. The elders said perhaps she had run away. Some young men blamed travelers from the roadside. Others whispered about kidnappers. But the oldest women said nothing. They only tied fresh charms over their doors and began walking their daughters home before sunset. Then another girl vanished. Then another. 3 girls in 4 months. All young. All admired for their beauty. All last seen near evening. Fear spread through Odoan like smoke in a dry season. Mothers stopped letting their daughters fetch water alone. Girls who once laughed freely in the market now walked in groups. Even the men, who first mocked the rumors, began avoiding the forest path after dark. But the village did what frightened people often do. It chose easier lies over a terrifying truth. Maybe they ran away. Maybe they found rich men in the city. Maybe this is punishment from the gods. No one wanted to say the one thing too many hearts were already thinking. That the beautiful woman who appeared on market days might be taking them. Then one afternoon, the truth cracked open. It was another market day. Tunde was hemming a wrapper outside his store while Bisi arranged her beads beside him. The sun was high. The market was busy. A goat had just broken loose and sent children screaming with laughter through the stalls. Then the air changed. It was subtle. Not silence exactly. But a strange thinning of sound. Tunde looked up. She was there again. The woman. This time her wrapper was blue. Her coral beads glowed red against her neck. Her skin shone under the afternoon sun. But the moment she turned toward the pottery store, Tunde's hands froze. He knew that face. The shape of the cheekbones. The slight scar above the eyebrow. The exact way one corner of the mouth lifted before the other when she smiled. His heart slammed against his ribs. No. No. It couldn't be. But it was. The woman was wearing Rimalikan's face. Not exactly as Rimalikan had looked in life. But smoother, older, more polished, like someone had taken the girl's beauty and sharpened it into something unnatural. Tunde dropped the cloth in his hand. He stared so hard his eyes burned. The potter's wife was only a few stalls away, yet she smiled at the woman politely, as if she did not recognize her own missing daughter's face. Tunde wanted to shout. Wanted to grab people. Wanted to scream, "Can't you see her? But something inside him turned cold. Something ancient. Something that told him this was not the kind of evil you shouted at in a crowded market. The woman paid for black soap. Paid for honey. Collected her white thread. Then just before she turned away, she looked straight at Tunde. And smiled. A slow, knowing smile. Like she had been waiting for someone to finally notice. That night, Tunde did not sleep. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw that face. Rimalekan's face. Smiling from another woman's body. Before dawn, he went to the edge of the village to visit the oldest woman in Odoan. Mama Sod. Her hut stood where the village met the forest, decorated with cowries, dried herbs, and chalk markings that most people were too afraid to ask about. If a baby would not stop crying after sunset, they brought the child to Mama Sod. If a man claimed he saw footprints leading to his wall and ending there, they brought him to Mama Sod. If a woman woke with bruises she could not explain and a dream she could not remember, they definitely went to Mama Sod. When Tunde arrived, she was already awake, grinding leaves in a clay bowl. "I know why you've come," she said before he even spoke. Tunde swallowed. "Then tell me what I saw." Mama Sod stopped grinding. "You saw what this village has refused to see for years." She looked up. "That woman is not beautiful. She is only wearing beauty." Tunde felt his stomach twist. Whose face was it? The potter's daughter. His mouth went dry. Then why didn't anyone else notice? Mama Sod's expression darkened. Because spirits do not only hide themselves with power, sometimes they hide themselves with desire. People see what they want to see. Tunde took a step closer. "Who is she?" Mama Sod stared toward the forest. "Long ago, there was a girl in this village named Abeni. She was said to be the most beautiful girl Odoan had ever seen. Men fought over her. Women envied her. Children followed her like she carried light." Tunde listened, barely breathing. But beauty can become a curse when the wrong people decide they own it. Mama Sod's voice lowered. "Abeni loved the poor hunter. But the chief's son wanted her. And in this village, there was a time when some men believed wanting a woman was the same as deserving her." Tunde's fist clenched. "What happened?" Mama Sod looked at him for a long moment. Then she said quietly. "On the night before her wedding, the women who envied her and the men who desired her did something the forest has not forgiven. They took her where the old rituals sleep. And they turned her beauty into a prison." Tunde's heart pounded. "What does that mean?" Mama Sod whispered. "It means if she has seen your sister, then your sister is already in danger." Tunde ran home so fast the dust rose behind him like smoke. His chest burned. His legs ached. His heart felt like a drum in a burial ground. He reached the compound and stopped dead. The front of the house was open. The cooking fire had gone cold. Bisi's bead basket lay spilled across the ground. Tiny red and white beads glittered in the dirt like broken teeth. One of her sandals was near the doorway. The other was gone. "Bisi." No answer. "Bisi." He searched behind the hut. The well. The cassava patch. Nothing. Then a small boy from the next compound came running. "Brother Tunde. I saw Sister Bisi." Tunde grabbed him by the shoulders. "Where?" She was walking toward the forest road. Tunde's blood turned to ice. "Alone." The boy shook his head slowly. "No." Tunde's voice came out like a whisper. "Who was she with?" The child looked terrified now. "A beautiful woman." Tunde's breath stopped. "What beautiful woman?" The little boy swallowed hard and pointed toward the trees. "The one from the market." Tunde turned toward the darkening forest. The sun was sinking. And in the distance, from somewhere deep inside the trees, He thought he heard Bisi laughing. But the laugh did not sound like hers anymore. It sounded softer. Slower. Almost borrowed. If you want part 2 immediately,